Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new and fascinating puzzle by the constructor ZegreS called Extragalactic. And this puzzle has a 100% approval rating on Logic Masters Germany, 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty, a rule set such as I've never seen before. And I have to give a quick shout out to ZegreS in any case. In fact, I did a video of a puzzle by ZegreS just before Christmas where I mentioned that ZegreS was responsible for one of my favourite videos actually on the channel, which is the one where I react to a piece of music by Ren called Hi Ren. And yeah, it's just, that's an incredible piece of music, and I love reading the comments on that video. So whenever I see ZegreS's name, it makes me think of Ren and that video. So anyway, that brings a smile to my face, as I'm hoping this puzzle will. And I will read you the rules, which are they're all built around the fact we've got to make a galaxy out of this square here. And a galaxy is sort of a 180-degree rotational shape. And that's going to cancel out digits that would otherwise count in the killer Sudoku cages. It's a fascinating idea. Anyway, I'll tell you the rules properly in a couple of moments' time. Quick shout out to the YouTube channel Numberphile, who have actually published a second Sudoku video. Their first one has over 500,000 views, where I talk through the Fistmafel ring, and now this one is where I spend, well, it must be 8 minutes talking through MathGuy_12's incredible Sudoku, the difference of squares, one of my favourite puzzles ever. And yeah, so Brady, as you can see, is rather better at thumbnails than I am, and probably better at titles than I am as well. But do check that out. I think some of you might enjoy it. It does contain spoilers though, so if you haven't done the puzzle, definitely try and do the puzzle first. Oh yeah, now on the channel earlier on today, 10 o'clock, there's a bonus video where I take on a sort of mini puzzle hunt created for us by Jane Street, and that is it's a fascinating series of puzzles, but it does take me a long time. So some of you I know really like the longer videos that we do from time to time. Well, that video is over 2 hours long, so hopefully that will scratch an itch, should you have that itch. And also you can definitely have a go at that puzzle hunt. I'll try and remember to put a link to that under this video as well. Other than that, we've just got over on Patreon, got a couple of things there. We've got our January competition, All the Fun of the Fair, and we've got my solve of Coaster Nurikabe, which is 2.5 hours long, and that's a very good puzzle, so do have a look at that. And then today is weird, like yesterday I spoke a bit about my friend Simon turning 50, and that was the only birthday I had to do yesterday. Now today I've got lots of birthdays to do, so I'll start off by wishing Blue a very happy 22nd birthday from your partner Iftika. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Apparently Blue watches videos all the time and even uses them to sleep. Well, you won't be the only one, Blue, who does that. Many people who've experienced my banter at parties have found that when I tell them lots of interesting things, it has a soporific effect. So goodness only knows how a whole video will work. Anyway, many happy returns. I hope you get chocolate cake. And then David, it's your birthday today, and I know this because your girlfriend Sam wrote to us. And David, I hope you have chocolate cake as well. Next to Dante, from your friend Eli, over there in Cork Island, a place I'm hoping to visit this coming April. I might be able to play, there's a golf club not far from Kinsale called the Old Head at Kinsale that I'm hoping to play. So I'm going to try and make my way over to Cork Island for a couple of days. But Dante, it's your birthday, and I gather you're being baked a vegan chocolate cake for the occasion, courtesy of Eli. That sounds jolly nice. I hope, yeah, vegan stuff, you can still have a lot of sugar and chocolate in, can't you? I'm pretty sure you can, so it should be good. You should be good to go. Next, Graham. Graham's turned 20 today, and I know this because your boyfriend Keith wrote to us. And Graham, apparently you're an engineering major, and you love Star Wars, logic puzzles, and Lego. Well, Graham, I think you and I should have been in the Big Bang Theory. together with Sheldon, although maybe one of us would have been Sheldon. I'm saying nothing. But Graham, you sound like a guy. It would be you might find me interesting at parties. Anyway, Graham, many happy returns. I hope you have a good one. Next to Mary, who's turned 30 today, and I know this because your husband Ben wrote to us, and Ben turned 29 yesterday. So it's full celebration mode in Ben and Mary's household, and I think you're both taking the day off for each other's birthdays, so you're having a long weekend of it. Quite right too. And then next, down there in Melbourne, another city that I have been to before on a few occasions. I have relatives in Melbourne, in Mount Eliza. Nick, you've turned 27, and I know this because your fiancée Lara wrote to us, and you're having double chocolate cake. God, that sounds good. And then finally, now I might get the pronunciation wrong here. I did check it before I turned on the webcam. I think it's Raghav. I hope I'm saying that correctly, Raghav. From your employee, Ratnakumar, over in India, it's your birthday, and Ratnakumar describes you as the coolest boss ever. Well, I mean, I was pretty cool back in the day when I was a boss. But Raghav, apparently you are basically the coolest boss on earth. And I don't know what you've done to deserve that accolade, but I commend you on it. I think if more bosses aspired to be the coolest boss on earth, the world would be a better place. And I will leave it at that. Anyway, all the birthdays are now done. Let us turn our attention to trying to solve some Sudoku. Let's have a look at Extragalactic by ZegreS. These are the rules. We've got normal Sudoku rule supply. That means we have to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. The middle dot is the centre of the galaxy, in inverted commas. The galaxy is 180-degree rotationally symmetric and orthogonally connected. So what that means is we've got to make sure that whatever shape we build from this galaxy, so let's say we started off and we worked out that the galaxy did this, it has to be rotationally symmetric once we've turned this shape around 180 degrees. So you can see from that it would need to be this shape. So that is now, I think, symmetrical. So i.e. if we twisted it 180 degrees around this point, it would still look exactly the same. It would still occupy exactly the same cells. So if we added this cell into the galaxy, then we'd have to add that cell into the galaxy, etc. Let's restart the puzzle. Now there's one more rule. Digits in cages that are not part of the galaxy sum to the given total in the cage's top left corner. So how can we... so what that means, well, I mean, we could immediately have detected that this 8 cage can't be a totally natural 8 cage because the triangular number for 4 is 10. So if we were to put 1, 2, 3 and 4 in this cage and they all counted, they would add up to 10, which is clearly more than 8. We don't even need to be on Numberphile to know that. So something here has to get cancelled, and it'll get cancelled by being part of a galaxy. But I guess in extremis you could cancel 3 cells from the 8 cage. So imagine that was an 8 and it wasn't part of the galaxy. Then those would be part of the galaxy. Let's make those red, and that would mean that, yes, so that would mean those were part of the galaxy, and the 7 clue over here, that would have to be a 7 to make sure it counted and made the right total. This is really interesting. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. ZegreS always comes up with these unusual ideas. Wasn't it ZegreS who did the marble run puzzles? I think it was. Now, don't really know how to even go about starting this. I mean, I can see some trivial things very quickly. Like I can see that there must be some degree of galaxiness. The galaxy must extend to the alpha quadrant, which we'll call box 1. Because if it didn't, these cells would have to add up to 15. Sorry, 15, 11. 8 plus 11, 3 is 11. I think I was thinking 15 because I was thinking 5 cells. The triangle number 5 is 15. So if we occupied these cells with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they would add up to 15. So if none of them are galaxy, they certainly wouldn't add up to 11. So at least one of those cells is galaxy, which means, yes, you can see how symmetrical. Is it actually? It is. Okay, the given cages are utterly symmetrical around 180-degree rotation, so that p pentomino there goes there once rotated, doesn't it? So the fact we know one of these cells at least is galaxy means at least one of these cells is galaxy, and that is additional information over and above what we would have got if we'd just focused on this p pentomino, because these could have added up to 15 by being 1, 2, 3 in there and 4 and 5 in there. Right, but there's something going on, obviously, in this cage, or this box as well. I mean, the secret is nowhere near being acquired in this box. And secret is something I only tell my very favourite people, but of course, if you're still watching this video now, you definitely deserve to know the secret, and I will tell it to you. Just keep it to yourself. The secret is that any complete box of a Sudoku, because of the rules of Sudoku, will contain the digits 1 to 9 once each. So if this box of the Sudoku was completely covered in a cage and there was no such thing as a galaxy, that cage would sum to 45, and that is the secret. That is the sum of the digits 1 to 9. Now here, we've actually got 8 cells purportedly summing to 21. Well, the minimum sum, the triangular number for 8 is 36. So clearly a lot of this has to be galaxied. A lot of that has to be galaxied as a result. So, okay, one of these at least has to be galaxied, because that's 5 cells purportedly summing to 14. So one of these at least has to be galaxied. That at least is a bit of a worry, isn't it? Okay, what's going on in the middle box then? Let's have a think about that, because this again, well, yeah, I mean, obviously quite a lot of the middle box was likely to be galaxied, because in order to get the galaxy out of the middle box, it will have to grow somehow from this point, and it's going to have to grow into, well, at least 2 of, because we know, well, let's start from here. That's clearly part of the galaxy because it's got a 0 in it. So maybe that's where I should have started. That is galaxy. Now, if this was galaxy, this would be galaxy. And if this was galaxy, this would be galaxy. And at least one of those things must be true. Because we can't have the galaxy doing this, because these cells are not orthogonally connected to the centre of the galaxy. Orthogonally means connected along a long edge. Right. Do we actually have to have... Well, it's certainly true to say that those can't both be real. We have to have a colour for real. Should we have light green? If these were real, they would be a 1-2 pair. But by being real, it would have the implication that by symmetry, or by rotational symmetry, these two would be real. And these couldn't be done, because if this is a 1-2 pair, this couldn't be the 1-3 pair that it wants to be. So, yeah, okay, but we can't have both of these cells being galaxy, because if they were both galaxy, the cage couldn't sum to 3. So there is a 3 in this cage, and one of these cells exactly is galaxy, and one of them is ungalaxied. I don't know, yeah, I don't quite know what the concept of that is. Now, the implication of one of these being real is that one of these is real, so that's got a 4 in it. Okay, and that's rather pretty for the 5 cage, because the 5 cage now cannot be a 2-cell cage. Because if it was a 2-cell, when I mean a 2-cell cage, it can't be ungalaxied. Because if it was completely ungalaxied, these two digits would sum up to 5, and they would either be a 2-3 pair or a 1-4 pair, and that's no longer possible. So one of these cells is galaxied, and it is a 5. Sorry, the one that isn't galaxied is a 5. And that means one of these cells is not galaxied, and that's got a 6 in it. So we get this sort of... we get this 3, 4, 5, 6 floating space that's not galaxy. Now, can we... so if this was galaxy, that would be galaxy. This would be a 3, 4 pair. It's not actually that. It's not that straightforward, I don't think. Because I could get to that square, for example. Let's say that this was real. I could get this into a galaxy by doing that. Do you always have to have a Z pentomino? There is a question that feels like it's potentially important. I can't not have... you know, I can't make all of those squares green. Because again, although those... that would be 5, 3, 6, 4, so we'd fill the digits in, but then the galaxy would not be orthogonally connected. So I know that at least one of these two and these two is red. So let's say those two were red. Does that then have an implication about how these work or not? This would be a 5, this would be a 6. No, I don't think it does at all, actually. I don't think that matters. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, so I think we might have to look further afield here. And I suspect we're either going to be looking... well, it feels to me like we're either going to be comparing these boxes, which are obviously rotationally symmetrical, so anything we do on the left has to be also done on the right, or it's going to be these boxes, boxes 2 and 8. What have we got up there? 29. We've got 29's worth of cages, which obviously has to have some galaxy element to it, because the minimum, again, the triangular number for 8. So if there was no galaxy in those cells, then they couldn't only sum to 29. The minimum they could sum to, because all the digits would be different, would be 36. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. But down here we've got a bigger total, haven't we? We've got 33, 39. So that, well, that's a bit weird. So this one almost looks like it wants to have... it looks, as an ambulance goes past, it looks like a lot of this wants to be real stuff, doesn't it? Let me think about this. Yeah, I mean, if I've got to have digits in this box, in this 3x3 box, that are ungalaxied, that sum to a minimum of 39. Because just within this bit of the box, these have to have 39's worth of cells in them. 39's worth of green cells. So okay, here's another way of thinking about that, actually. Let's try and just do those ones. Now those ones are meant to include non-galaxy cells that add up to 33. Now you can't get to 33 with different sudoku digits unless you've got 5 of them. So at least 5 of these digits, of these 6 digits, are non-galaxy, i.e. green cells. But if these added up to 33, if they were all green, then all of those would be green. And that would be another, that would be 23 up there. These would add up to 22. And I'd have to parcel off one of those into being a 6. Which might be important, I don't know. How do we do this? This is not easy, actually. I can see that one of these digits is a 3. So if this was a parcel of completely ungalaxied digits, then this would be 3. Oh no, now we've got 6. No, now we've got 6 digits, so that's fine. That's much easier to do, isn't it? Okay, that's not good then. Oh, this is tricky. I'm having difficulty sort of conceptualizing this in my brain. Naughty brain. Naughty brain. We have to force our brains. Brains are sometimes very annoying, and they don't want to be pushed outside their comfort zone. And it's like a muscle. You know, it's like when you're doing weights or something, and your body says no, just can't do it. Make it. Force the brain. Naughty brain. Sometimes you have to break the brain. Oh, that's going to be the plumber. But hopefully someone will be able to answer the door. How do we do this then? If sorry, I really am a bit nonplussed by this. I can't quite. I know at least 5 of these are natural, so at least 5 of these are natural. It's going to be something like, there must be a reason that both of these 6 cages have a solitary 6 in them, because that will force the solitary 6 into this 6 cage, and it will determine some of the structure of the galaxy in box 5. I mean, either if this is a 6, if this is a solitary 6, this is a solitary 6 by symmetry, and that is a 6, which means those two are red. So that's one way we end up with redness in these 2 cells. If this is a double 6, if that's 2 cells adding up to 6, then this is 2 cells adding up to 6. But this one, oh dear, that's actually it's somebody trying to get in, and they haven't opened the door. I better just go down and see. Sorry. Sorry, I had to deal with the plumber and the block drain and flooding and anyway, where were we? I've no idea. What was I thinking about? Yeah, I was thinking about, I was trying to work out, wasn't I, whether or not this had to be 2 6s. And therefore this had to do that. And then if this is a double-digit clue, this is a double-digit clue. And if that's the case, that will be 1 5. If that 4 pencil mark is correct, that will be 5. Hang on a minute. So either that is a 6 or that is a 5. A real 5, a real boy. Right. Okay, so I think we've got a little bit of a start. Literally a little bit of a start. So what I'm saying is that if these are 1-digit clues, which would have to be symmetrical, so let's say it was this with a red cell here. Doesn't matter where the red is, but we're saying 1 green, 1 red for these. Then, because we have to make the 6 work, those two would both be 6. This would be a 6 in the middle. Now this would be a non-galactic 6, and therefore it would be green. And then by symmetry, that would be green. So that's one possibility that we're in. And then you can see this has to grow sideways, because otherwise we're going to end up with that situation. And this never grows orthogonally at all. So in one version of the world, in one version of the galaxy, we have 6s here and 6s here. Now the alternative is that this is both of these digits are unencumbered by galaxy, so they're both natural. Now if they're both natural, this 4 is interesting because it forces this to be 1, 5. Now it's really windy outside, the house is falling to pieces. But if this is 1, 5, that cell is the only place in this cage for a 5, and its nature is now it mustn't be galaxy. So it would be, again, it would be a green digit, the symmetrical counterpart of this, rotated around the centre of the galaxy is there. And we always end up with non-galaxy in these cells, even though we don't actually know, we don't know anything about the true nature of the 6 cages. These two are always green, and therefore these two are always red. And oh, well, hang on. That is more interesting still, isn't it? Because now I know that's a 5, I know that's a 6. I know this is not contributing to the count of this cage, so that is galaxy. I know this must be galaxy by rotation. So we can get rid of the pencil mark digits in the corner there. We need to put a real 3 and a real 4 in the 3 and the 4 cages. So that's a 3, that's a 4, and we have got a tiny little bit of a start now. We've actually built a Z pentomino of galactic proportions emanating from the puzzle. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. So do we now know whether this is 1, 5? I really don't think we do. I think we're still in the dark about the true nature of that 6 cage. Wow. I know at least 5 of these digits are green. That's still true. And if all 6 of these were green, then all 6 of these would be green. That would have to be a 1, 2. That's interesting. That would actually be known. My phone is buzzing at me. That would be a 1, 2, 4 triple, wouldn't it? Ah, and they can make that wouldn't work. Right. Here's a tiny point then. So we worked out originally that because these digits sum up to 33, or the ones that are not galactic sum up to 33, we need at least 5 green cells down here. Now, if they were all 6 green, and if this was all 6 green, therefore by symmetry, you can see that the nature of this 7 cage is it would have to be 1, 2, 4. All 3 cells are counting. That's the only way of making 3 cells add up. And now the 16 cage can't contain a 3 or a 1, 2 and a 4. So its minimum composition would be 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7 add up to 18. That is more than 16. Knowledge bomb. So in fact, what we have to do well, so in fact it is exactly 5 of these cells that are not galactic. There's 5 greens, 1 red here. There's 5 greens and 1 red there. Which means 5 of these cells are summing up to 23. But that's quite easy, I think. 5 of these cells are summing to 33. That's harder. Yeah, now if the 3 was down here and counting in green, it would have to be exactly 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, we might be able to play games like isolating digits that do definitely now have to appear in the 17 and the 16 cages. Because if we've got 5 digits here that add up to 33, we must have 9, mustn't we? We must have 8. If there was no 7, we'd have 6, 5, 4 as the other digits, and that's not enough. 6, 5, 4 is 15, plus 8 plus 7, which are 8 and 7, 8 and 9. 8 and 9 is 17. 17 and 15 is 32. 32 is 1 less than 33. So there's definitely real 9, 8 and 7 in green down here, for sure. Okay, no, that's wrong. What I was about to say is just nonsense. Don't talk nonsense, Simon. It's not becoming. I'm not sure what that means. So it's 9, 8, 7 that are real, and then 2 digits that add up to 9, which are either 4 and 5. Now, if they were 4 and 5, so if we put 4 and 5 in here, then 4 and 5 in column 4 would have to be in the 16 cage. But we don't know whether the 16 cage is 3 counting cells or 2 counting cells. If it was 2 counting cells, it would have to be a 7-9 pair. Maybe we spin this around then. So we know that 5 of these are counting, and they're adding up to 23 overall. So if there wasn't a 1 in that, no, that 5 digits can add up to 20. So that we don't even know on the top side that there's a 1 in the counting cells in this block. So this is more restricted, I think. I mean, it does include 3 as well, but I don't want to pencil mark the 3 because I don't know whether the 3 is going to count towards the total. Wow. If this was, I know that at least 2 cells in the 7 cage are counting. So if this was a 2-cell counting 7 cage, it would have to include 3 and 4. So there's always a 4 in here. I mean, that's almost interesting actually, because it can't be a single 7 in here, because we know 5 of these cells are definitely green, because 5 of these cells are definitely green. So it's either a 2-cell counter to 7, which couldn't be 2, 5 or 1, 6, so it would have to be 3, 4, or it's a 3-cell counter where it would be 1, 2, 4. So there's definitely a 4 here, 4 here, there's definitely a 4 there, but we don't know whether the 4 is counting. Alright, okay, I'm giving up on that. I'm going to look instead. Maybe I'm meant to look at these. I mean, these 7s seem a bit sus, don't they? They feel... So if both... Well, first point, let's make some obvious statements to start with. Each 7 domino in these rows includes at least 1 counting cell. Now that's quite interesting. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay, I've got this. Right, so there's a 7 in one of those 3 squares, which doesn't help at all, does it? but that is true, because there must be an X-wing of 7s in the 7 cages. So what I'm saying is that if we just have a quick look at these dominoes individually, they either contain a galactic cell and 1 green cell. Now that green cell would clearly have to be a 7. Or they are a domino of green cells that sums to 7. But because within these 4 green cells, we could only have one single 7, the other digits would actually have to be a 1-6 pair, because of the 3-5 in the row already. And the same thing goes on in row 6. 1-6 and 3-4 can't work. So there's one domino here that's 2-5, and one domino that contains a 7 and a galactic cell. So maybe we do this sort of pencil mark. But the upshot of that, of course, the reason I spotted there as an X-wing is that now within these 4 cells there is a solitary 7 in one of them. And say it was here, say there was a solitary 7 counting in one of these, then obviously in this row the solitary 7 to count must be here. So there's going to be a 7 here, floating 7 and a floating 7, putting a 7 in the middle row. Or there's a floating 7 here and a floating 7 here, putting a 7 in the middle row. This is this is really interesting, but not at all straightforward. It's 3 stars, is it? Gosh. Okay, but can we... Okay, so now we know one of these dominoes contains a 7. So this 7 cage is not just a solitary 7 sitting on its lonesome, surrounded by 3 cells of galaxy. And it's not 4 cells of green either. So it's not 1 cell of green, it's not 4 cells of green. It's either 2 cells of green or 3... it's not 3 cells of green. Because if it was 3 cells of green, it doesn't matter where we put the green, those 3 cells would contain 1, 2 and 4. And then the one of these purple cells that is not the solitary 7, the one that we need to be a domino that adds to 7, couldn't be 1-6 and couldn't be 2-5, so couldn't exist. That's beautiful. Right, so this 4-cell tetromino, T-tetromino, contains exactly 2 digits that sum... bobbins. I mean, it's true. It contains exactly 2 digits that add up to 7, and 2 galactic cells, and the same is going to be true there. Maybe it's easier on this side to see an implication for the 8, because by symmetry, if there's 2 galactic cells here, there's got to be 2 galactic cells here. This is crazy, a crazy amount of WhatsApp messages. So okay, so this one contains, let's just say that the 2 digits that count are these 2. I'm just going to make those red, just because I find it easier to focus on something specific. So if these 2 added up to 8, now what we can't do is use any horizontal logic, because obviously these 2 might be there, we don't know where they are. But we can say that one of these contains a 7. So we can say that the domino that sums to 8 in this 8 cage is not a 1-7 pair. So it's either a 2-6 pair. Oh, this is right. That's quite beautiful. That is quite beautiful setting. So it works the other way round by flicking the digits. So here we were able to say 1, 2, 4 doesn't work because it kills both possible 2-cell dominoes that add to 7. Here, if we were to make this a 2-6 pair, the domino that adds to 7 here couldn't be 1-6 now or 2-5, so it works the same. It kills both options. So this is a 3-5 pair, but we don't know where it goes. Well, we know it doesn't go there, I suppose. Well, okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that as a win. Okay, so what I'm saying is that within these 3 squares now, there are 2 cells that are 3 and 5 that are green. But now this square is definitely not able to contribute to this 8k, because it can't be 3 or 5, which is what we need to be in green to make this work. So that is a galactic cell. It's not actually connected yet to this. and that is a galactic cell by symmetry. And 2 of these 3 cells are now adding up to 7. Oh, okay, all right, but we can go even further than that, because now there is a 5 in box 4, a real 5. So there is not a 2-5 domino in this row. Well, no, there's not a 2-5 domino in this domino. The sentences I get to say on this channel never cease to amuse me. So this is not a 2-5 domino. So this must be the 2-5 domino, which we know must exist in row 6. So that is now green and a 2-5 domino, which means many things, actually. It means this is 1 red, 1 green, and includes a real 7. So this does not include a real 7. So this is double green with being a 1-6 pair, and this is 1 of each and includes a real 7. There we go. Now what does that mean? It means there's a 6 in one of those squares by Sudoku. It means there's... that's not 5 anymore. So there's a 5 in here. That's probably not the key to the highway, is it? Okay. So what can we earn as a result of these deductions? Is it anything extra we can sort of squeeze from the logic? This has got 1 7 and 1 red in it. There's no reason this can't be a 3-5 pair, I think. Although, no, there is. It's beautiful. It's ridiculously cleverly set, this puzzle. Frankly, there are occasions, and it does happen. We're lucky enough, because we're doing world-class puzzles every single day, that it happens more often than you think, it possibly could. But this is beautiful. What happens if this is green? And the point is that this red needs to get into the galaxy. And to do that, it's going to have to cross column 4, and it's going to have to cross column 5. And in doing that, it's going to turn two of those squares red. And we know 2 of these squares are not red, because in order for this 6-cell sequence to contain green digits that add up to 33, 5 of them are green. So you can't do this. It's got to connect through here, and that's massive, because now I can pinpoint exactly where. Well, I can. So these are now the 2 green cells, and they are 3-5 pair, and I know the order. So that's 5, that's 3. I think I'm going to argue that that's red in a moment, but let me just come back to that. Because now I can symmetrically rotate this. I can put that as red, that as green, which means that's green. Now these 2 squares cannot be a 1-6 pair anymore, because they see that digit. If this was 1 or 6, it sees this domino. And they can't be 2-5, so this is 3-4, and again we know the order. So that's 3, that's 4. Which means 4 is in one of these squares by Sudoku. Pregnant pause while I just try and... I'm trying to do Sudoku. Always a baffling moment. Okay. So what I was going to... the reason I think this square has to be red is, imagine if it was green. We know that this collection of digits here had to include some redliness, didn't it? Because we couldn't have all of these counting because of the point I made many minutes ago when we started the video before the plumber arrived. So I know some of this is red, but again, so the only way I can get red into here if this is green is to cross this boundary and break what we know about these squares. So I can't do that, so that is red. So that's not counting now, and now those, in extremis, all of those squares are green, and they would add up to 11, and that is possible. 1, 2, no, it's not possible, actually. It's not possible for sort of technical reason. If that's a 1, 2 pair, that would have to be a 3, 5 pair, and it breaks. So in fact, there's more redliness we need to contribute to these squares. But we've not put the red in on the other side here, and there's more red to come in here as a result of the deduction we've just made here. So there's more red to come in there. Now, okay, but we can keep going with that logic, can't we? Because we know that this p pentomino of 7linesses cannot, it needs red in it. Where does that red get into this box from? It doesn't get there from there, because this, whichever one of these is red, is not orthogonally connected to the main galaxy yet. It can't come from here because we'd have to cross column 4 and 5 again. So it must come from here, which means this is red, which means that is red. Now, has that helped or not? Don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like we must know a lot more about the world now. So 3 of these digits max summing to 11. It could only be 2, couldn't it? That's tricky. It's very tricky. Do we... sorry, I'm not spotting this yet, am I? I don't think we're a million miles away anymore. I mean, I sort of feel like we've had some reasonable thoughts at last. One of these squares is a 1. I almost have to ignore the red cells, though. They're not that helpful in terms of the actual. I can't see how to use the digits I've earned in the puzzle. I know something up here is red, so I know something down here is red. Feels like... I don't really know where to look. Could we... I've got to have... I know 5 of these. So there's 1 more red to come in here. But that red could be like low here, couldn't it? And it could escape to the rest of the reds by coming via column 9. Or, sorry, box 9. So I don't think it's necessary, for example, for that to be the red digit in box 8 in this congregation. If I feel it's to do with this 6 cage, to be honest. If that's a single digit 6 cage, then that's a single digit 6 cage. Is that in any way problematic? Don't think so. If one of these is a 3-cell sequence, that's adding up to 17 or 16. So one of them is a 2-cell sequence that's adding up to a number that's only got one combination to make it work. Is that helpful? So what I'm thinking there is, if this is a 2-cell sequence, in this would have to be the 7 and the 9. 8 would shift over here to be accompanied by... It would have to be accompanied by... Oh, hang on, how would that work? That didn't feel like it worked to me. So let me just think about this. So what I'm saying is, if this is a 2-cell sequence, then it would be 7, 9 to add up to 16. This would be red. These squares now need to be a 3-cell sequence summing to 18, but they have to... they don't have to include the 8. But if they didn't include the 8, you wouldn't get there, would you? No, you wouldn't get there, so they would include the 8. So they include the 8 and 2 more digits that sum up to 9. But they couldn't be 1, 8. They couldn't be 2, 7. 7's here. They couldn't be 3, 6. They couldn't be 4, 5. It doesn't work. Right. Okay, so I suspect there's a more elegant way of proving that. But we've now proved this is the 3-cell sequence. Now that's interesting, because now this is a 2-cell sequence. Oh, it's very interesting. Well, maybe it's not actually, but it is a bit interesting, because this contains a 2-cell sequence that adds up to 17. So this has the 8 and the 9 in it. I'm not saying that means this has the 7, although it probably does mean that. So this definitely has 8 and 9 in it. And then a floating digit that could be lots of things. I think it's got to be a 1, 2 or a 3. Possibly it's that digit. So this is 3 digits now that sum to 17. Sorry, that sum to 16. 2 of them have to add up. Well, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so how do we make the other 2 digits here sum up to the 9 extra we need? We can't use 4, 5. We could use 3 and 6. That's not prohibited. But we can't use 2 and 7, that would repeat the 7. And we can't use 1 and 8 because the 8 in the box is there. So we have to use 3 and 6. So in fact, this is 3, 6, 7. Which means that is not a 7, I suppose. That's done it. That's done it. Because now the 6 thing here can't be a solitary 6, it sees a 6, and this can't be a solitary 6 because it sees a 6. So both of these have to be green digits. Which means... Oh, come on, I think we're getting some... Oh, it's going to be 4, 2, isn't it? Does it have to be 4, 2? Or could it be 1, 5? Well, that one has to be 1, 5. Because that can't be 2, 4, and it can't be 6 on its own. So that is 1, 5. So these remaining digits in this column are 2, 8, 9. And I thought we were going to get somewhere. This is a sequence of total greenness. This is interesting. This is a domino, we don't know where the domino is, but it's 2 digits that add up to 7. So it's 4 and 3, because it can't be 5, 2 or 1, 6. So that's weird, because that doesn't really do anything for us, does it? That's most peculiar. Okay, so now let's have a think about the 16 cage then, which we know doesn't contain 1, 3 or 4. So if it didn't contain 2, its minimum sum would be 6, 7, 8. So it must have 2 in it. It's 2 and then 2 digits that add up to 14 that don't include 5. So I think this has got to be 2, 6, 8. Which means that square is a 9 now. These squares are now known, and they are 3, 4, 7. Yeah, okay, sorry, the 7 pencil mark there was discombobulating me for a moment. That's 7 in the middle row now. And 2 is now looking at this 6 gauge, so it's not 4, 2. So that's 1, 5, which puts 1 in the middle of the grid, I think. That digit's now a 9 by sudoku. This column has not seen a 4, so it needs to see 1. And this string of digits, which includes 2 real digits, oh, this is good. This is very good, because now I can see which of these has to be red. It can't be this one, because those 2 would be real and this would be isolated. It would be sort of a part of the galaxy that was not a part of the galaxy. So it's got to be that one, hasn't it? That's got to be red, which means these 2 are the 8, 9 pair adding to 17. We can green these. Oh, I've just had a thought. I know red-green colourblind is a thing, but I believe in our palette red and green aren't bad. They are discernible, so I apologise to anybody who's having trouble with the colours I've chosen today. I did not mean to mess that up. This is now 2 digits. We know they add up to 7, so that's a 3, 4 pair. That gives me a 7 here. And okay, so what do we do now? Don't know. Well, okay, we do something simple, don't we? Which is that we note that one of those squares is red at least. How do we get there? We've only got this little passageway we can come through now, which means that that is also a little passageway. And what do we got? What do we need to put in row 6? I want to say 1, 7 and 8, with that not being 7, look. Oh, 1, sorry, sudoku, of course. Well, that's 1. This is a 7, 8 pair, so the remaining digits we've got to put into box 4 are 2, 4, 9. Now we can get rid of 4 from this one. And come on, Simon, there must be more we can do here. 2, okay, these are 2. No, they're not 2 because 2's there. These are 7, 8 and 9, therefore. One of these is a real 7. I don't know what that means. What do we do? 7, 8 pair there, and an 8 below it. So one of these digits is a real, no, one of these digits is a green 7. Yes, okay, that was weird. My brain could sense there was some problem here. It was like a tickle in my brain. I am going to claim, I hope not erroneously, that that can't be an 8. Because if it's an 8, let me show you now. Let's actually uncolour these cells. So if this is 8, we know it's the galactic cell, don't we? Now how does that galactic cell, this is now a 7, which is green. So how does this connect? Well, it's got to, this is the problem, it's got to drop down here via a galactic cell. And now this 8 cage can only have green 8s in it in that cell. And you get 2 8s in the column. So that's not going to work. So this is not the 8, this is the 8. This is the 7. The 7 is green. The 8 is naughty, so that's definitely red. The red has to get out, so that's a digit. And now we get to do the same exact trickery, look, at the top of the grid. So that is going to be the green 7 now. That is not a 7. Okay, and that, okay, that's good, but it hasn't actually It hasn't interfered at all with the P pentomino. We know needs red in it at the top of the grid. Okay, that's a surprise, isn't it? Here's a thought, which I won't use, but I can see is a problem. How does uniqueness get established for the shape of the galaxy? So what I'm thinking is, imagine that we made that cell red and the whole of the rest of this box green. That cannot be the solution to this puzzle, because there is nothing about the internal logic of the puzzle that tells us why these two cells are green and not red, because their reflection is here, down here, not in cages, so they absolutely could be either colour. So the only way that there is a definitive galaxy shape is if these two cells, I think, are forced to be red, probably because we need that cell to be red and maybe that cell to be red. We need the red to bend round. Now, that is a uniqueness argument, which I won't use because we don't like to assume when we do these solves that the puzzle has a unique solution. If the puzzle appears on Cracking the Cryptic, unless we tell you otherwise, it will have a unique solution. So it is, I suppose, a valid strategy, but we prefer to put ourselves in the positions of people who test the puzzles. And if you're testing the puzzle, you cannot assume uniqueness. And so we don't. But I think there's definitely something going on there. At least one of these. If this is a... don't know. I'm not sure. Not sure how to do this. If there's some reason I can see if that's a double, if that's a domino of green, it's got to be 1, 6 or 3, 4. If it's oh no, that's simple. That's sorry. Why do I start there rather than starting with something simple? Look at this domino. It's C7, so it can't be a one cell green, can it? Both of those are green, which is beautiful. That means both of these are green. Oh, it's beautiful and it's not beautiful, because now this means this is either 2, 6 or 3, 5. Well, that square's not 2, so that square's not 6. So this is 3, 5 or 6. And okay, but we know something's red, don't we? Well, this is useful actually, because let's return to this. It's so well set, this, because you keep having to look backwards and forwards. You know, you learn a little bit here which affects what you can do here, but then you learn a bit more here which affects something I think quite important down here. Let me explain. I know one of these squares is red. Well, it's not in here, so at least one of these is red now. But that means at least one of these is red. Well, you can't have two reds in this 14 cage, otherwise the green digit would have to be a 14. So one of these digits is red, and two of these digits sum to 14, which means, this is beautiful, it means, how do we sum two digits to 14? We're either using 6 and 8. Well, if it was 6, 8, where would the 8 go? Would have to go there, wouldn't it? It would have to be a green 8 there. Or we're using 5 and 9. Well, where would the 5 go? It would have to go here. So that square is always necessary to make this the two green digits work in the 14 cage. So that square is green, which means that square is green. God, we're closing in. We know, right? So, and we also know that there's a second green cell up here and a second green cell here. Okay, so I know from uniqueness that that's going to be the green one, and the red is going to bend round here and round here, but I won't use it. Now, how do we do this with any sort of aplomb now? I know this domino is not 2, 5, so that is either 1, 6, or 3, 4. don't seem to know anything about that. Oh, bar humbug. I know that the accompanying digit in these two that's green is either 6 or 9. Now if it's 6, if this is 8, 6, then this becomes 3, 5. But if this is 5, 9, this becomes 2, 6. I'm desperately trying to see why one of these is right or wrong, and I'm failing, I'm afraid. What about... Oh, okay. Right, so now we use this 8 here, do we? Yeah, that's a sensible idea. Right, so we're going to notice that this domino can't include a single 8, so it's actually double green, which means this is double green, adds up to 6, but nothing is ruled out. Well, no, that's not true. As this is double green, it can't be a 2-4 pair, so that's a 1-5 pair. That's good. That's good. Right, so that's 2, that's 5. Oh, it doesn't do anything there. 5 is now over here by Sudoku. 1 is in one of those squares by Sudoku. That's interesting. So there's definitely a 1-6 pair, either in the 7 cage here, so that's where it's going to be, or it's going to be here. And over on this, in this neck of the woods, this domino is adding up to 8, and it's not 3, 5, so it's either 1, 7 or 2, 6. I don't know how we're going to know that. 1, 7 or 2, 6. So so the 3 cage now can't be a 1, 2 pair, because that would rule this out from existing, which means this has a real 3 in it, and it's one of each. Now, if the red was here and the green was here, that red would be isolated. This is so clever. Oh, ZegreS, this is so clever. So that's the real red. That's the real green. Let's try and make that happen. The green, therefore, is a 3. This has got to get out and connect, and look at that. We're dealing with some of these uniqueness points. Now, what's that done down here? That's made all of these red, that green. This is now a 9 by Sudoku. Doesn't seem to help very much. Maybe. Look, that 3 knocks this out from being 3, 5. So this is 6, 2. 6, 2. That's not 6 anymore. If this is 6, 2, this is a 5, 9 pair in the corner, isn't it? It can't be 6, 8 anymore. So that's 5. That's 5. That's 1. That's 5. That's 1. By Sudoku, we've got a 1 in one of these squares. There's a 9 in one of these squares, which somehow is not resolved. This must be green, otherwise it can't connect to the rest of its friends. So that's green by symmetry. Look at our galaxy now. The shapes it would throw if it was on the dance floor. Now, that's not a 3, which means that's not a 4. And can we do any better than this? Probably. I mean, I know that's going to be the 9. Otherwise, I think there's a uniqueness issue. But I mustn't use it. Mustn't even look at it. Stop looking at it, Simon. Naughty. Okay, that's not 7. So that's not 1. That's a 6. So that's a 6, and that's a 1. And now this can't be a 2, 6 pair. It has to be a 1, 7 pair. That's gorgeous. And so that's a 1 by Sudoku. This is not a 1. So that's 4 or 6, which must go with 1 or 3 to add up to 7. Can we do any better? Don't know. I'm not sure, actually. The digit that's counting in here is not 1, 2, 3 or 5, so it's a counting 4 or 6 here. And that's quite interesting, because the counting 4 or 6, just as this is a counting 4 or 6, must be opposite a 1 or 3, which must go in the corner, giving us an opportunity for a 3 in the corner. Maverick's taken off, I can hear. So we've got 2, 4. This is a 6 or an 8. 6, 8 or 9 here. Yeah, so we've got 2s, 4s, 6s and 8s down here, with that not able to be 2. Yeah, so the only place for 2 in this column seems to have to be there. So we get a 2 in the corner. And maybe could we do something with this row? We need 3s, 7s and 8s. Yes, where's 8 in this row? It's got to be here. So this is a naked single 3. It can't be 7. That's a 7 now. And maybe this column now? 2, 4 and 9. Yes, where's the 2 go in this column? It's got to go at the top. This is a 4, 9 pair. And we're just a step away now from figuring this out. That's at 2, so that comes out of there. And what are these squares? 7, 8. I think they are a 7, 8 pair, but we don't seem to know how to resolve it. How infuriating. Okay, well, we're going to have to carry on. That's not 2 anymore. So in this column we need 4s, 8s and 9s. I don't see, given I'm not allowed to make uniqueness arguments, it's got to be something Sudoku-ish, hasn't it, that figures this out? Which is quite surprising at this juncture. 3, 4, 6, 8. So that's 4, 6 or 8. 3 is definitely in one of those squares. Naughty Sudoku. Why do I find you so hard? Okay. No, I can't see how it's resolving. How infuriating. Is it something to do with 2? No, 2 is in one of 2 places, I think, in box 3. Is there a reason this can't be a 4 or a 6? And that's why this has to be a 4 or 6. Not that I can immediately see. Let's try instead to think about 9, 2. 2 is in one of 2 places in row 5. 6. No, I'm not sure. Have I not filled in a cage? That's also a very big possibility, isn't it? 3, 7. 7 is in one of those 2 cells in box number 3. Oh no, it's not there. Oh, that could be it. Is that it? No, why don't I think that's a 7? Oh, that's bad. That's a bad pencil mark. Okay, well I spotted something as a result of a bad pencil mark there, which has saved me in a way. I put 4, 6 and 8 in here. There's an 8 here, but there's no 7 looking at this digit, I don't think. So I need to be a bit more diligent about how I pencil mark this box. I mean, that can't be 8. Maybe it's that. Oh, that is it. Yes. Where does 8 go in this column then? Okay, by hook or by crook, we've discovered something. 8, 9, 6. Yes. 2, 8, 2. Oh no. I still get left with a 4, 9 pair over there, but surely that has helped me, he says, somewhat desperately. Okay, yeah, those squares are now 2, 5 and 9. And we can get rid of the 2 here, but that means these squares at the bottom of the column are 3 and 7. So this is a 4 or a 6. Okay, and now we can come back on our journey and think about where 7 goes in box 3, and it has to go there by Sudoku now, and that is what we needed. No, that's not what I needed. That is not what I needed at all. Because now, haven't I got a uniqueness issue? No, I haven't. No, that is what I needed. I'm now confusing greens and reds in my own brain. No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Because that can't count. Because this does count. And if it can't count, what colour is it? It's red. Which means that's green. And now we have to get this red to connect, which is taking us round, dealing with our uniqueness problem. We go round the corner there. We need 9 as green, don't we? Look, the whole grid's now flavoured. We have discovered the shape of the galaxy. That's now 4. That's a 9, that's an 8, that's an 8, that's a 7, that's a 7, 3, 3, 6, 6, 4. So now that's 6, which must go with 1. And, oh, don't tell me. Oh, yes, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it till last, just to enjoy it. This is now a 3-4 pair. You've probably seen why. So how do we do this? That's a 4 by Sudoku. That's doing my 4 and my 9. These 2 squares are an 8-9 pair. I'm not sure I will be able to delay it to be the last digit, but I'm going to try. 5 and 6 go into those squares. That's now a 9. We can do the 5 and the 2. Look, 5 here, 2 here, 8, 6, 2. Yes, we can. We can keep going. We know what that is. That's an 8 by Sudoku, and our last digit is going to be that digit. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Wow, a musical ending to the most musical of constructors, for me at least. ZegreS, is this right? Oh, yes. What on earth is this? From the Hudson River out to the Nile, you ran the marathon to the very last mile. Extragalactic, planetary, extragalactic. What? Another dimension, another dimension, another dimension, another dimension, another dimension, another dimension, another dimension. Is that the Doctor? Is that the Dalek or something? Is that a Dalek going crazy? Like, exterminate, exterminate. I don't know. I'm not good enough at Dalek knowledge to know whether this is Doctor Who. From the Hudson River out to the Nile, you ran the marathon to the very last mile. Doesn't sound like Doctor Who writing to me. 28 people have solved that in 5 days. Yeah, that was actually, it was incredibly clever. The setting of that is first rate, is absolutely first rate. The originality of that is first rate. To have the idea that that's possible is one thing, but then to execute it like that is sublime. It's really sublime, and that is a beautiful puzzle, but it wasn't easy. Because I got interrupted by the plumber, I've got no idea how much time this has actually taken me. And once I cut out the chunk in the middle when I was having to pass people saucepans. But let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind and they don't exterminate me. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.